Everywhere I look, there are reminders that I only hold this job temporarily. But it's a long time between now and 2016, and anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
I have more campaigns to run.
More campaigns to run.
Let's face it, there is one issue on every reporter's minds, and that is 2016. Apparently, some folks really want to see a pot-smoking socialist in the White House. We could get a third Obama term after all. Could happen, could happen, could happen.
And that's why we're running for a third term.
No, we're not.
We're not?
No.
Who the hell said that?
I actually think I'm a pretty good president. I think if I ran, I could win.
We shine the spotlight on an executive order that the White House was hoping that you would never learn about. Now, the president signed the National Defense Resources Preparedness Executive Order late Friday afternoon. And since that time, now the measure has been virtually ignored by the mainstream media. Now, the order essentially gives the president of the United States absolute power over any and all American resources during both times of peace and national crisis. Now, this includes, but is not limited to, food and livestock, water, plants, energy, health resources, transportation, and construction materials, and gives the government the ability to, quote, control the general distribution of any material, including applicable services, in the civilian market. Now, White House Press Secretary Jay Carney laughed off a question about the document at today's briefing. Let's take a look.
There's been some online commentary suggesting this gives the executive branch power to allocate energy, food, water in either peacetime or wartime. And there are some conservative blogs that are pushing the notion that this suggests the White House is preparing for a war with Iran. Can you explain what this executive order was?
Well, I cannot explain that reaction to it. I think it was a fairly standard and routine piece of business.
Now, not everybody's laughing about this executive order. In fact, some have suggested this would give the president of the United States the authority to declare basically martial law during times of peace. And to be sure, this is simply the latest string of actions taken by the administration that ignore the basic principles of our Constitution.
We have all these prophetic dreams people are having that seemingly contradict each other. Sort of a prophetic war going on between those who believe Obama is the last president and there's either going to be a tsunami or nuclear fallout and we're just going to go into martial law and everybody's screwed. Or the positive one, the positive prophecy that Donald Trump is going to save the day, America's going to prosper again, and America will turn around, people will become Christian again, come back to God.
What has God shown you that will happen in the future?
He showed me that if Christians don't start praying more than they ever have, even the churches become the house of prayer. This next election,
Presidential election,
is not going to take place, that it's going to be suspended because evil's going to arise and some disasters are going to happen and some things are going to be put in place, and the president's not going to be removed. He's going to stay in, and these things are going to happen, and they're going to be very bad if we don't get a hold of God.
What other things is he showing you?
He's showing me that the church has got to get back to prayer. Prayer is the power he gave the church. And we got to get the faith of God. Paul said, do we have God faith, or are we taught man's wisdom faith? That's what he said in Corinthians. And he said, I come and I showed you in the demonstration of the power of God, my faith it's God's faith.
In this dream, I saw this huge wave, and it was heading towards American shores. This wave was, and it was coming in. And then I began to tell Stan in this dream, so it goes to the second dream, and I told Stan, I said, I saw it coming, Stan, because I'm thinking I'm awake, but I'm still dreaming, okay? He says, well, how tall was it? And I said, it was 20 stories tall. I heard the Lord say it's 20 stories tall. He says, don't you mean 20 feet? And I said, no. I said, the Lord says it's 20 stories tall.
So what I want to start with this evening is a prophetic word that I received back in 2008 during the Democratic race between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, because it ties in with what I will move into. Now, when I received this word from the Lord, Hillary Clinton was slightly ahead in the Democratic race. And the Lord said this to me. He said, Barack Obama will win the Democratic nomination, and he will be the next president of the United States of America. And quickly I said, Lord, do you expect me to vote for a man who supports abortion and homosexuality? And the Lord replied to me, and he said, child, I did not tell you to vote for him. I'm telling you he will be the next president of the United States. He said, Barack Obama is a forked-tongued devil. And he said, your country has been pushing for abortions and homosexuality, so I'm giving you a president who will promote abortions and homosexuality. But, he said, be rest assured, my hand of judgment will come against your nation while he is president. So on April 17th, on 2013, this is the dream that I had. In this dream, my husband and I were traveling in a vehicle in North Carolina, and we were driving up a mountain road, and we saw this policeman with his light, a blue light flashing as a warning signal, and he had stopped the traffic, which prevented us from proceeding up the mountain. So in the dream, I got out of the vehicle, and I walked up the steep mountain road, and the officer motioned for me to stop. Then all of a sudden, behind the officer, I saw this large wave getting ready to crest over the top of this mountain, and it was heading towards me. So in the dream, I placed my back to the wave, and I was able to, the wave kind of washed me down back to the bottom of the mountain. Now, at that moment in the dream, I knew that the Atlantic Ocean had washed in as far as this mountain in North Carolina. That was my first dream on April 17th. Then 10 days later, on April 27th, 2013, I had a second dream. And in this dream, I was at a beach on the East Coast, and there were many people at the beach enjoying the sand and the sun and the ocean. And there were these college-aged boys who had carried a couch and an area rug to the shoreline as a joke. And I warned them that the tide would come in and wash their couch away, but they just ignored me and they began to laugh. Then all of a sudden, as they were mocking me and laughing at me, I saw this massive wave that was taller than the hotels, taller than the buildings, and it was just positioned to crash onto the beach. In all my life, I've never seen a wave this high. In pictures or even when I've been to the beach, it was literally towering over the tops of the building.
Or the positive one, the positive prophecy that Donald Trump is going to save the day, America's going to prosper again, and America will turn around, people will become Christian again, come back to God.
Several weeks ago, I was with my wife, Susan. You guys already know this story. I was with Susan while she was visiting her physician, who is Dr. Don Colbert.
Right.
And I had a conversation with Mrs. Colbert while Susan was with the doctor. And Mrs. Colbert mentioned to me that one of her husband's patients gave him a copy of a prophetic message he said the Lord gave him. And Mary Colbert went to her office and retrieved the document for me to read. It was dated April 28, 2011. The moment I read the first line of the prophecy, I immediately glanced back at the date to make sure I had read it correctly. I did read it correctly. The date was April 28, 2011. I read the entire prophecy and then sat silent for a moment as I tried to comprehend the message. I looked over at Mrs. Colbert and I asked, are you telling me this is for real? Are you telling me a patient of Dr. Colbert gave him this prophecy in 2011? And she nodded her head and said, yes, it's true. And then she picked up her phone and she called the gentleman and introduced me to him. And then he told me the story about the day the Lord gave him the prophecy. So I asked him if he would come on True News and share it with the entire True News audience.
Fascinating story here.
This is definitely fascinating. And the gentleman is on the telephone right now. Mr. Mark Taylor is a retired lieutenant in the fire department, and he is on the phone right now from his home. Mark, welcome to True News.
Thank you, Rick. It's glad to be here.
Yeah, I want to start right at the beginning of this prophecy because I looked at the date. I began reading the prophecy, and then I didn't even get past the first sentence, and I looked back at the date, and I'm thinking, is this a typo? This must have been April 28, 2016. But wait a minute. It's not. We haven't even reached April 28, 2016.
Right.
So I'm thinking, well, maybe it was March 28, 2016, you know? So I went ahead and read the entire prophecy, and you know, my first thing I said to Mary Colbert was, is this for real? Are you honestly telling me that this was given to you 5 years ago? And she said, oh, yeah, this man is a patient here. He gave this to Dr. Colbert. So, Mark, tell us about, was there anything special that happened to you on the day that you received this? Were you in prayer? Just set the stage for us. And then I want you to read the prophecy word for word.
Okay. What happened was in 2006, right as I retired, I had a visitation from the Lord. And in that visitation, the Lord assigned an angel to me. And you fast forward to about 4 years ago, I had Prophet Kemp Simpson gave me a prophetic word. We never met, never spoke. He told me that I had an angel assigned to me. He was assigned to me for the gift of faith. He was to minister not only to me but for me, but he would also only hear the words that come from the throne of God. And when he heard those words that came from the throne of God, he would immediately go and do those words to come up to bring them to pass. So in 2011, I was sitting in front of the TV, and I saw Donald Trump on TV. And all of a sudden, I went, oh, my gosh, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm hearing the voice of a president. So I went into my office, and I sat down, and I started writing what God was saying, because in that visitation that I had, that was what my strongest anointing would be in the written prophetic word.
Okay, I just want to take this step by step here. So 2011, you're in your living room, you're watching television, and Donald J. Trump is on television. Was it one of his reality shows or an interview?
It was in an interview, I think, on the news, because, you know, at the time he was thinking about running for president. And I want the listeners to understand, because I am real here and I don't want to deceive anybody. I originally thought that this was going to be for 2012, because on 3 months later, I wrote a prophecy called The Great Horse, that there was another Triple Crown winner coming, and I said in 2012 there would be another Triple Crown winner, and it would be assigned to the church that it was their time to break out, because Secretariat was a sign of the end-time church. So
I remember this prophecy.
Yeah.
I remember this now.
We talked about this.
Yes.
Yeah, Paul Keith Davis talked about how Secretariat was a sign of the end-time church. They would come from behind and be the winner. Well, we don't know when that time was going to be, but this next Triple Crown winner was going to show that it was time for the church to break out. So, anyhow, I thought all this was supposed to go down in 2012.
But we had a Triple Crown winner, and it was Pharaoh.
Well, no, in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
This was all supposed to happen in 2012.
Okay.
Donald Trump and the horse. And so I thought, when that didn't come to pass, because Trump never announced he was going to run, so I thought I had truly missed these two words, so I set them aside. Now, I'm trying not to get off topic here, but God gave me General Eisenhower's speech. He says, I want you to go back and take that speech, and I want you to rewrite it and address it to my army.
Which speech?
The D-Day speech. So I went back and I took the D-Day speech, and I rewrote it addressing it to God's army. Well, I didn't know what to do with it at the time, so I pushed it aside with the rest of this stuff. Well, fast forward to 2015. I thought I had missed all this stuff. All of a sudden, the Triple Crown winner comes, American Pharoah, in 2015, and I'm on the phone with my sister, and she says, "Oh my gosh, what day is today?" And I said, "It's D-Day." And I heard the Lord say, "Release the speech." 10 days later, Donald Trump announces he's running for president. And I went, oh my goodness. So I pulled all this stuff out, these three things that I had set aside for years, and all of a sudden, everything came together at one shot. Now, in the prophecy, and I asked the Lord, I said, "Lord, did I miss this?" And he says, "No." He says, all of this was supposed to happen in 2012, but he says, my people were not ready. He said, I held it off. He says, go back and look at the horse that ran in 2012, because the horse ran the first two races, but he lost the last one. And I always thought it had a kind of peculiar name, and it was, I'll have another, which I thought meant I'll have another drink or something. And the Lord said, no, I'll have another one coming, is what he meant, is because my people, the church, was not ready. They needed 3 or 4 more years of this garbage with Obama going on, where they would get a righteous anger, rise up and say, enough's enough. So that's why all this stuff came together in a 10-day period. June 16th, Donald Trump announces he's running. Now, I'll read the prophecy first, and then I'll go back and give maybe some details, if that's okay. Would be all right?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So I titled the prophecy Commander-in-Chief, and it says, the Spirit of God says, I have chosen this man, Donald Trump, for I will use this man to bring honor, respect, and restoration to America. America will be respected once again as the most powerful and prosperous nation on earth. The dollar will be the strongest it has ever been in history of the United States and will once again be the currency by which all others are judged. The Spirit of God says the enemy will quake and shake and fear this man I have anointed. They will even quake and shake when he announces he is running for president. It will be like the shot heard across the world. The enemy will say, what shall we do now? This man knows all our tricks and schemes. We have been robbing America for decades. What shall we do to stop this? The Spirit says, ha, no one shall stop this that I have started. For the enemy has stolen from America for decades, and it stops now. For I will use this man to reap the harvest that the United States has sown for and plunder from the enemy what he has stolen and return it sevenfold back to the United States. For this next president will be a man of his word. When he speaks, the world will listen and know that there is something greater in him than all the others before him. This man's word is his bond, and the world and America will know this, and the enemy will fear this, for this man will be fearless. The Spirit says when the financial harvest begins, so shall it parallel in the spiritual for America. The Spirit of God says in this next election they will spend billions to keep this president in. It will be like flushing their money down the toilet. Let them waste their money, for it comes from and is being used by evil forces at work, but they will not succeed. For this next election will be a clean sweep for the man that I have chosen. They will say things about this man, the enemy, but it will not affect him. They shall say it rolls off of him like the duck. For as the feathers of a duck protect it, so shall my feathers protect this next president. Even mainstream news media will be captivated by this man and the abilities that I have gifted him with, and they will even begin to agree with him, says the Spirit of God.
Amazing. This is truly amazing. Mark, it reads like you wrote it last week.
Right.
That's why it took me back so strongly, because I kept looking at the date.
Right.
Sort of a prophetic war going on between those who believe Obama is the last president and there's either going to be a tsunami or nuclear fallout and we're just going to go into martial law and everybody's screwed. Or the positive one, the positive prophecy that Donald Trump is going to save the day, America's going to prosper again, and America will turn around, people will become Christian again, come back to God. Actually, both of them sort of have that, except for, this one is sort of on a positive angle, and this one's on a negative angle, that people will be coming to God. Will be repenting. They'll be seeking out God, right? And of course, obviously, some are pointing out, this is Levi Price's channel. I actually helped Levi Price to get his channel back. He lost his channel, and he basically gave up on getting it back. I got him back on here. Not just me. I mean, we worked together. I gave him some advice. I told him some stuff he should do, and it worked, and he got his account back. But I don't know if I agree with him. You know, he's saying that this positive prophecy is kind of like these prophets in the Old Testament that tell you whatever you want to hear. The positive prophecy, you know, the good one. And then there's that one guy who's got to ruin it for everybody else. You got the 20 prophets all saying, oh, yes, prosperity for you, king. Everything's going to go awesome. And then you got that one prophet. Sorry, king. God's saying you're screwed. You're going down, buddy. You know what I'm talking about. If you go read the Old Testament, you get a few situations like that. I think Ezekiel would be one of them, and I can't remember. Was it Jeremiah or something? It's been a while. My mind's a little foggy on that. But, you know, this is kind of the whole approach Levi Price is taking, is that, you know, that this prophecy is wrong because it's too positive. And, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, he's wrong, but at the same time, there is a lot of negativity, and it seems like this world thrives on negativity. YouTube thrives on negativity, even outside of Christian Trutherville or dumb, Christian Trutherdom or Ville or whatever you want to call it. There is negativity everywhere. Even the major channels on YouTube are thriving off negativity, fighting, having little gossip wars and rumor wars and stuff. It's not like people are exactly getting on YouTube to watch a bunch of positive, happy things, you know. They're more, end of the world, tomorrow. Of course, then we have this woman here. And this just, I was just like, I wanted to bang my head on the table after I saw this. Because she said that God spoke to her, and apparently, I don't know if this is the case, but apparently this is the second time she's guessed the rapture or something. I don't know if it's true, but this is on Drew Bloom's channel. I guess the lady's named Kat T. I don't know. Apparently that's her name. She's got a YouTube channel as well. But she's telling the viewers how she knows for a fact that God spoke to her about the rapture dates. And I'm just like, girl, you gotta be kidding me, man. Look, this is so ridiculous. You want to like hit your head on the table afterwards when you. She's saying her birthday is 1/8/1960, and she's taking numbers and subtracting them and adding them. She says she's 56, which equals 5 plus 6. What is that times? What is that? 5 plus 6 times 11. I don't know what that is. 5 plus 6. 5 plus 6 equals 11, which equals 1 and 1, which equals 2. Oh my goodness, this is so terrible. She's 56 years old, which equals 5 plus 6, which equals 11, which equals 1 plus 1, which equals 2. And then you add 2 somehow, and you get 9/16. I don't even... so September 6, 2016. So then she says it's 9/23, 2016 is the rapture. What the hell, people? What the hell? Why is it everybody has to have a webcam and make videos? Really, please don't make videos if this is what you're going to do. If you're going to make things like this, please don't make videos. Please. For the love of everything holy and righteous, do not make videos. Please. Because your video's so stupid and irritating. Obviously, that's not the rapture date. And definitely the way you came about calculating it is just not cool. It's just really, really... For one, you can't even calculate the rapture date. That's 1. 2, some people don't even believe in a rapture. 3, and actually those who say they don't believe in a rapture actually do believe in a rapture, but it's just not the same thing. It's just after the fact, and they just meet Jesus in the sky, but they don't call it a rapture. It's post-trib instead of pre-trib. And anyway, whatever. So you don't add numbers up, for 1. 2, if you're going to add numbers up, at least be clever about it, because this is just really, really bad. This is just really bad. Okay, I'm done making fun of her. But there's so many people like this on YouTube. It's just really irritating. Like Renee M., who keeps making more prophetic dates over and 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 over, and every time she's resetting the date. It was 9/23/2015 last time, and now she's talking about 2016. She was doing this way back in 2012, and she's been wrong basically every year up till now, and she just keeps making videos predicting when Jesus will come back, and she's been wrong for 4 years straight. Get a clue, you know what I mean? Get a clue. Any rate, it's just amazing to me how there's always these prophetic videos, and you can find someone who said the exact opposite thing, and then when you go look back at it, you know, after 9/23, when 9/23 comes and goes, you're going to look back at these videos, you're going to like, what the hell, dude? And why do you still got, 50,000 or 20,000 subscribers? And they still have them. They still have them, you know what I mean? At any rate, do you think Obama's the last president? I think this is the major player prophecy right now, is that these elections aren't going to happen, that something bad's going to happen, Obama's going to pull out the card, the FEMA camp, suspend civil liberties, martial law card, and actually it's theoretically possible if something really bad happened, like a tsunami, like they're talking about in this prophetic dream that this Dr. Patricia Green had. And I'm not going to start making fun of her, because she could be potentially right, and she hasn't made a bunch of false prophecies yet, like a lot of other people have done. But I am kind of concerned, because if it comes and goes and she's wrong, is she going to repent of it? And if she's right, I guess that confirms that she's really got this prophetic gift, right? So, but she's saying that she saw a tsunami coming, and a lot of stuff fails. Even the Hoover Dam fails. The tsunami is going to be on the East Coast, and then Obama's going to declare martial law, and then things are going to go pretty hairy and crazy. And she says that there's a lot of people that think the tsunami is not going to do anything, and they're just going to be laughing and scoffing, and they're going to end up dying. To me, honestly, I don't know about it, man. I mean, I don't try to predict stuff. I haven't even prayed about it to see what God says necessarily about this. I mean, I've kind of asked, but I don't know, man. So you got this nuclear attack, tsunami prophecy, but you only have so much time before the elections. It's not very long. You know what I mean? And all this stuff has to happen really quick, which, you know what I mean? So, and then you have this prophetic one about Donald Trump, that he's going to do everything he said, which would be a first, because almost every president that gets in or lies basically does the opposite of what they said. I'm sort of like a sarcastic hopeful, you know what I mean? You could ignore all the, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing. You could ignore all the evil or all the bad parts and just look at the positive. If it's Hillary Clinton, there is no positive. There's no positive if it's Hillary Clinton. It's just not positive at all. You might actually be seeing this if it's Hillary Clinton, you know what I mean? Seriously, I really think so. I did a couple videos exposing her. She's had like 30 to 40 people die around her mysteriously, around her and Bill Clinton, since their early days in the running for the governmental offices, early on, back in like the 80s and 90s. She had people dying around her all the time, mysteriously. People that knew information about her, knew some pretty revealing information, things that could get her in trouble, they all mysteriously die. And you don't want to be, it's not bodyguard, Secret Service. You don't want to be one of her Secret Service. They die off like flies. She's had a ton of Secret Service people die around her mysteriously. A lot of them. Anybody who has any information on her mysteriously dies in really weird ways. That's not, I mean, there's like so much stuff. I mean, I don't want to get into a huge exposed video on Hillary Clinton here, but anything and everything you can imagine. Okay, she's got she's got money in the pockets of everybody. I mean, she's also got her health issues, which are just utterly ridiculous. She's got these seizure things going on. Some are saying she might have Parkinson's. I mean, seriously, do you want a nutty woman who's also got, on top of it, mental, physical ailments with her brain running the country? Seriously, one who's had all these people die around her mysteriously, maybe hitmen she's hired to kill them all. Do you want somebody like that running the country? Who has all these problems with her email scandals and just everything? It's like the most corrupt politician ever. She's worse than Obama. You know what I mean? So, a lot of people think Trump is terrible and evil and all this kind of stuff, but Hillary, she totally tops him, hands down, easy. But, with Trump, you have a potential slight sliver of a chance of something good happening. So it's kind of like, it's a little bit better than the lesser of two evils. It's kind of like there's a little ray of hope in there somewhere, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that. That's kind of how I look at it, even though a lot of truthers think Trump is evil too or something. I find this whole Bethel Church, Bill Johnson topic very intriguing. I've actually found out some interesting stuff, a different angle that most haven't. Everybody seems to be covering this topic in pretty much the same general manner, and I've noticed what mistakes they're making.